If I say BPS, what comes to your mind?
Motorsport passion.
But what is BPS?
Business started back in 2006 with my business partner, Darren Turner. So he started the company with a wealth of experience that came from developing the McLaren F1 simulators 25, 26, 27 years ago even.
You can put it on the high end of sim racing.
Yes, but we design it and manufacture it ourselves in-house rather than relying on third-party products.
Now I'm here with James, the CEO, the big guy from Base Performance Simulators. Oh, thank you so much for joining me here on the podcast. And let's start from the beginning.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks for coming and seeing us today. So, business started back in 2006 with my business partner, Darren Turner, which I think for most racing people will know exactly who he is. Factory Aston Martin driver, hence the livery on the car behind us. 3-time Le Mans winner and won the Daytona 24 Hours only last year. So still very current in racing. So he started the company in 2006 with a wealth of experience that came from developing the McLaren F1 simulators 25, 26, 27 years ago even. And McLaren were the first to produce simulators for motorsport. So Darren was their test driver at the time. And obviously he learned a huge amount of what goes into simulators with that Formula One background and set up Base Performance and founded the company. Primarily as a driver training centre. And we still do that today in the car behind you, our GT Aston Martin. We also have a single-seater on a full-motion platform. And we charge an hourly rate. And we have pro drivers, young drivers, gentleman drivers coming in on a regular basis for training and understand the learning behind the racing and learning and improving their techniques. But of course, a lot of our customers were wealthy, but time poor. They're busy, they've got to run businesses. So they asked us to develop products that could go into their homes or garages so they could continue their training at home and then back that up with sessions here. So we've developed a range of products which we believe are industry leading in the immersiveness and the feedback that the drivers get. One of the biggest things is brakes, and we've developed our own pedal box. And Anthony Davids, for example, who's one of our customers, test driver for Mercedes F1, their lead simulator driver. He has one of our sims and very kindly is quoted and believes our sim pedals are the best of any sim pedals he's ever felt on any simulator. So that's a pretty high accolade. And we rolled the Blade out, which is our entry-level product, out over the last 3 years. And with our sister company, Curve, we also do a beautiful product made out of carbon fibre in a partnership with Aston Martin, which again uses the same products to enhance the driver feel, which again is very important. And that's really the ethos behind Base. Everyone here races in one way or another and at different levels. And what we're trying to create is an immersive simulator, not a fairground ride, that other people do very successfully and create products, but we are very much about producing a simulator with a motorsport background that we have as an organisation. That DNA runs through the whole of this business.
So you think we can put it on the high end of sim racing material? No?
Yes, we use the best components we believe out there, and if we can't find that best component, we design it and manufacture it ourselves in-house rather than relying on third-party products. A lot of companies out there, which they do incredibly successfully, is take third-party components from pedals, motors, steering wheels, visuals, etc., and put them all together, possibly in not maybe a sexy-looking product, but a functional product. But we try to go that step a bit further by producing something that, one, looks great, but also is very immersive and offers the right feedback for the driver and the cues that they need to develop as a driver and get better if they're taking that onto the track. And obviously there's sim racers out there that don't go onto the track, but hopefully they get an experience in our simulators that is similar to the real thing.
Okay, when you're talking about the construction of your products, in terms of percentage, how much is done here on the house? How much is you need it from outsiders?
What the percentage of product within our products? Yeah. So, for example, the Blade product, which is our home entry-level product, the frame is a tubular steel frame, which is our own design.
Okay.
We build it that way, one, for the aesthetics, but also that there's no flex in the product.
Perfect.
Eventually, metal can give and people hold on tight and they're in Sims for hours and hours and hours. The tubular frame chassis isn't going to do that. It's thicker than most roll cages in race cars.
Yep.
And also it gives us, we think, a nice aesthetic look. The carbon fiber seat, again, our own design, designed to be rigid, but also comfortable. So if you're going to sit in the sim for hours on end, you're in a comfortable environment and also looks beautiful, being carbon fiber. And obviously will last a very long time.
No, we are on the carbon fiber era, no.
With carbon fiber, yeah. And we're not using it for the lightness, we're using it for the rigidity, but also the aesthetics. As I said earlier, we use a SimiCube motor. Okay. We believe SimiCube's probably the best on the market, offers a very good and realistic feedback, but also because we don't run them at maximum torque that the motors do, they're going to last an incredibly long time, and no race car in the world gets 25 Newton meters of torque back. And people that think, I need more, don't understand what we're trying to do. So again, we can dial that down in our software and our models to be more accurate to the real car rather than just putting tons of torque in.
Here on with this one is around what, 15?
I think that's a maximum of 15 in there. I mean, an F2, the old F2 cars, I think there's like 18, 19 Newton meters of torque maximum. So you're never going to get.
Yeah, I think only if you do ovals,
yes,
you want a little bit of more, because I think after 20 minutes, your muscles are completely sore. So it's no point. In terms of this one, you have the motion.
No, and so the GT, there's no motion in this one. So the only reason we haven't got motion on the GT sim here is because of the building we're in. We don't have enough height. Next door, which obviously you can have a look at later, is on a full motion Moog platform, which is a fantastic, realistic motion. We use Moog because, again, we believe for driver training, they're best in class.
Best in the D-Box?
I'd have to say for a professional organisation, yes.
Okay.
The D-Box system we use on our other products, for the FEC products, are great, but they only offer 3 degrees of freedom. On the single-seater, we've got 6. So again, yeah, it's all there. But again, and hopefully you guys will film it, the amount of motion that we use is very minimal. All we're trying to do is create cues. Any motion in simulation that's throwing the driver around becomes unrealistic to the real experience of driving a race car on a circuit. So all you're trying to do is create subtle cues that give the driver the seat of the pants feel that help him develop as a driver to improve again. So it's all about that subtlety.
Yeah, because now it touches something that's quite important, because you have a lot of, I would say, old drivers, but they are not old drivers. Yeah. But if you say drivers a little bit above the 30 years old, they sometimes they tend to not get to adapt to sim racing because they missing that part, the not so visual, but more the bodying of the feeling. So what is your point of view on the new generation? They're using only of the visuals instead of the feeling?
I think you've got to realise that there are limitations to simulation. Formula One teams spend tens and tens of millions trying to improve that feeling, but they're using it as an engineering tool. What we develop is driver training tools. So what we're trying to do is get an immersive experience so people can learn circuits, learn techniques. And the biggest one is probably braking, and our coaches teach that to people. When you throw motion in, and if it's subtle, that can help them develop it. Some of our drivers don't like it. They come here and they ask us to turn it off. Okay. The general public that want to go and have an experience, they think they want motion because they think that's more realistic. And a lot of the products out there create far too much motion. The D-Box platform that we use, which is endorsed by the FIA for our family entertainment center product, Phoenix, we dial that right down. Again, just subtle cues, curb strikes, etc., because you don't want to be thrown around. People get sick. It's not real. It doesn't create a thing.
People just do it the maximum when they're going to do a video for Instagram or TikTok.
Yes.
Just, you know what I mean? Just to look, to see that motion and everything, because it's the same thing with when you're talking about Newtons. You don't need that much because our body cannot stand
No,
it.
exactly. So yeah, it's about creating realistic cues that drivers can use to help develop their driving skills. It's not about jumping on a fairground ride and being thrown around because it looks cool. That's not what we do. Other people might think that's the right way to go, and that's up to them. But what we're trying to do is create good driver training cues that professional drivers buy our sims. Dario Franchitti is a customer of ours. Karun Chandok, David Brabham. So top level race drivers buy our products because they know they get those cues and feedback. So when they're using the sim, it feels more realistic. If they get in some other sims, they've been said, oh, it doesn't feel right to me. And they know the subtleties better than any of us because they've raced at the very highest levels, haven't they? So it's a good accolade for us. We're very proud of that.
That's interesting because one of my main goals on the podcast, normally is talking about sim racing and talking about games and everything. But other one is I'm trying to give a platform for young drivers that use sim racing as a training tool or jump from sim racing to motorsport. In which way you think coming here will improve their performance?
Without a doubt. I mean, we've got some young kart racers that we support. There's a young one called Archie Clark, who's the grandson of the legendary Roger Clark, who won the RAC Rally many years ago. And he's stepping now from karts into Ginetta Junior. We support him. He comes and uses sim, and it enables him to get the familiarity of the tracks that he's going to, understanding braking points, lines, again, brake cues, etc. So it definitely helps. And he has one of our products at home as well. So he's constantly on that. And I think I use an analogy to golf. If you're a top golf player, you can go down the range and hit 1,000, 2,000, 300 balls a day. Our sport, motorsport, is impossible to do 100 laps in a day when you go on a test. The costs, there's not the opportunity to get on circuit, etc. But using a sim, they can do 10, 12, 24 hours if they want on a simulator doing the same thing. So that becomes that muscle memory, the brain memory, they learn that. And then for sim racers, it's the same thing because there's no limit to how long you're on your sim at home to go to do your sim racing. And these guys are amazing. The top sim racers are unbelievable what they can do.
Yeah, because if you start, for example, thinking let's go for British GTs, they are 8 to 10 times on the track.
Exactly.
So it's the sim, they're gonna when they jump, they know already the tracks from the back of our minds, and the training they do is spot on. And I already speak with kids that, for example, Seto Corsa that you have here, they download the mode, they download the car, and after when they jump there, they say that prepare them to know where was apex, where they need to do it. Of course, it's never perfect.
No,
but that is always depending on our perspective,
Exactly.
Because everyone have a different way of see it. But I think we are more near that perfection than we was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we say to people is that first session on a test day or for a race weekend, if you're already in the zone, if you already know, like you rightly say, the braking point, what gear you're going to be using, you don't waste those first 20 minutes or 15 minutes just getting yourself back in tune. Your brain is already actively going. So I think that's quite an important aspect. And there is so little track time for people nowadays. And the costs are ridiculous.
Yeah, and you see, for example, the top drivers. Max Verstappen is having a sim on the back of his airplane.
Exactly.
So means how much is important the simulation, just not for him, but to develop new track lines and everything. Antonio Felix Acosta shared a small moment that he said that Max told him the other day that was 3 o'clock in the morning. You wake up, you need to change. You have a new idea for always they do the tires for that track. So you wake up everyone of the engineer team at Red Bull to go to the sim because you want to try that idea because he knew that will change it. And you see, I think that dominance era from Red Bull came from the driver himself. For the dedication.
I'm sure. And I think that's an amazing way the sport is going and the industry that we are now in. When this business started 18 years ago, we were just doing driver training in a GT and a single-seater, and we weren't even selling simulators. The amount of simulators, the amount of companies selling simulators, the amount of simulator racing, the online stuff, it's amazing. And the sport's changed massively, but it's also fed through into real world racing and vice versa. And that always happens.
Yeah, because I was saying to Joss, and as I give this analogy. So if we come to the COVID, you have like two different eras, and I said that you have the dinosaur eras, and after COVID, it's like everything come a big explosion in terms of sim racing.
Yeah.
And I think these last 4 years are completely crazy when you start thinking about the evolution in terms of gaming, in terms of what you guys have here. But I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
What's the difference, for example, from your single-seater to a F1?
We also provide our bespoke service. So we'll put a GT sim into a racetrack or a race team that want it as a driver training tool, not a driver in the loop tool. Okay. So an F1 team use their simulators not to driver train, because if you've made it to F1 or even F2, you know how to drive. Yes, you can enjoy it. I mean, Max is not going to be, I don't think, will change his amazing ability because of his sim racing. But F1 teams use it as an engineering tool. So they spend tens and tens and tens and tens of millions to create the most amazing simulators, but it's an engineering tool. So the guy that designs the new front wing in Monday can have it correlated and on the sim by Tuesday. And then the driver can get in and see if he can feel an improvement, but also the engineers looking at all the data can see if there is an improvement. So it's used as a data engineering tool rather than driver training tool.
Okay.
And that's the major difference. So big teams, professional IndyCar teams, F1 teams, their sims are about engineering. It's not about driver training. Because those guys already know how to drive.
Not about immersion.
No.
And enjoy
the
it.
immersion is important, again, for the driver to be able to drive it as realistic as possible. I mean, I think I'd heard a figure that Mercedes spent 10 million just on their projection system.
And the same thing, I think Daniel Ricciardo said that the Red Bull one, they don't know what is, because they go completely in the dark, and nobody outside of there know what's going inside.
Yeah.
To keep that.
It's all top secret.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
It's absolutely. So it's a very different level of simulation, and it's done for a different reason. Our business is about driver training, as I mentioned from the start, but that's all we do. We're not into the engineering side of it.
Okay.
We're in about the driver, an immersive experience, whether they put a full GT car into their racetrack or their club, or even we've done a few into people's private homes, right their way down to the blade. That's the business we're in.
Okay. And in terms of sim that you guys using here, I saw that you're using Assetto Corsa for any particular reason.
We just found over the last, I think we've been using it now 7 or 8 years, we found it as a driver training tool, a really good product to use. So that's why we've done that.
No?
Sorry?
Very modular.
Yeah, exactly. And we've developed our own track models and our own car models. Obviously, we have a lot of pro drivers coming in, particularly from Aston. So our Aston Martin GT4 and GT3 are absolutely bang on, because the pro drivers have helped develop the models. And we can offer that to our customer base as well. So if a guy's racing an Aston GT4, he can get that onto his sim at home, and that's a pretty accurate to what the real car feels like.
Okay, so for what I understand, you guys developed the cars too? And you work with anyone outside of base performance?
No, we do that all in-house.
Okay, so you guys have your own devs. And in terms of data, you collect the data with the teams?
We can do that. So something we're very strict on as well. If a driver brings his data in from the real world, we can analyze that against him in the sim, but that data is his. It's protected. We're not sharing that with the guy that's coming in from the next Aston Martin.
So you don't use that one to upgrade the car model?
No, because the car model we keep the same, but the analysing the two data together, we keep that just to the driver. Yeah, it's confidential.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't see that the people that create mods for Assetto Corsa, like let's pick VRC, that's one of them. They create for teams too. Yeah. So when I speak with them, they say, I'm creating for some Formula E teams. So what they give us the data, we create the model car for them, and they say that Assetto Corsa can be completely 100% what they feel almost on the real one. So it's quite interesting what you guys doing here. And 2024, what you can expecting?
Well, we're busy now we've created a product over the last couple of years called the Phoenix, which is designed to go into sim centres. We're taking a slightly different view to a lot of the products out there and gone very much with our ethos of creating a driver training tool that feels very realistic. Looks great. So we're busy rolling that out across the world at the moment. We've got some sites in the US. We've got some UK sites coming up soon. We're looking at the Middle East as well. So there's a lot of opportunities with that product. So
And it's worth the money.
it is good money, and it's an amazing the amount or the return on investment centres can now get from Sims. So we're looking at indoor kart circuits. I think how else can we create extra dollars from the customers that are coming through the door? And because of the explosion of sim racing, it's becoming more and more popular. And even if you haven't ever been on a sim, you can go and experience it, pay your $10, $15 or whatever it might be, have a really good experience. And then hopefully that gets them into it and they keep going back and back and back. And maybe they'll end up buying a simulator, hopefully from us one day.
Okay, and the Phoenix will have your pedals.
So the Phoenix, again, has across all our products, we put our own pedal box in. It's a tubular frame chassis again. We put bodywork on it. We've upgraded the speaker system because obviously they're running sometimes 18 hours a day. We've now enhanced the visuals with the new Samsung 57-inch and a massive graphics card.
Outside 240 hertz OLED is. I had a 49 one at home, and it's unbelievable the quality. I think we don't realize how good it is until you try it, and after you look to your TV and you go, oh, something is wrong here.
And the important thing for, if you're going to be putting 5, 10, 20, 30 of these into a centre, you want a small footprint. So a big triple screen takes up a lot of room. So, and it's difficult to set up and everything else. So we like to use a single screen. It's very immersive. And with the 57-inch, it's a game changer, I think. So we're on the forefront of that. We use the D-Box system on that because, again, if you're going into a sim centre, the individual thinks they want movement.
4 or 6?
4.
4, okay.
So it's a 4, one on each corner because a race car has 4 wheels. Yeah. So to our thinking, you'd put motion where the suspension might be on 4 wheels.
Because a lot of people are always asking, and the yaw, where is the yaw movement?
Again, see, yaw's a very difficult thing to do. In a real race car, yaw is dependent on the weight and the central gravity of the car, depending on where you are pitch. So in simulation,
it's the engine where is
a lot of the engine, exactly. But it's a lot of simulators try and do it with one central point. So again, that's a false cue because it's not realistic. So to create real yaw is difficult, and then you need a bigger platform to achieve that. But the 3DOF offering that we do with the 4 D-Box actuators gives a very immersive and a good feel without being over the top. And some sim racers, some pro sim racers say don't want it because then they don't use it at home and they don't use it on their own rigs, and that's totally fine. But the guy that wants to go and have a go and experience in a sim centre, they're obviously going to want motion. So that's why we added that as a standard on the Phoenix product.
And butt kickers or no?
No. In the D-Box system, it has a hepatic system. So again, you could be overdoing it, and all you're doing is adding more cost, something else to go wrong, something else to break. More cables, which is a nightmare in Sims. We're about to upgrade the GT Sim with 4 butt kickers, just on each corner again for this one, because we do find that does offer a good immersion with the no motion. But on the single seater, we wouldn't bother with that.
All right. And in terms of price, what is the range?
So we start from 14,000 for a blade light, we call it. So it's a slightly simpler product. And we go up to 500,000.
500,000? Okay.
But a lot of that's the projectors. So you can spend 20, 30, 40, 50,000 pounds each on a projector. So that's but our biggest is normally a 500,000.
A personal question. What do you prefer, the projectors or the OLED system?
That's a difficult one. I'm a bit like a window cleaner. I never get a chance to get in the Sims. My engineers are always playing on them, and I'm probably older school. So, but I do before my races. I try and get at least an hour or 2 hours in the GT because I race in Aston Martin. So I think it's great to have the full immersion with the A-pillars and everything like that. I will be getting one at home once I convince the wife that I should have one at home. And obviously at that point I'd put a Phoenix in. But I find the single screen works so well, and very quickly you forget where you're at. But so it's a bit horses for courses, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's more the colors. I think the OLED have a different type of colors that is with more brightness, and after, of course, doing on projectors, you don't want to have the quality that you have it. So you tend to look a little bit more old school after you look to the quality of the OLED.
But the next evolution is LED. Okay. So we're looking, and we have a partner in Finland, and we're looking at that currently of having a curved LED screen, but the costs there are still massive. To have the similar setup as what we have here, you're probably looking at about £150,000 for an LED. There are lots of advantages to that. One, that you can be in a lit room, and when you race a car, most times you're in daylight, aren't you? Yep. So the LED is so much brighter and offers a really, really good resolution as well. So that is the next evolution. But the really, really top projectors are so much brighter and better than these ones, because you're spending unlimited amounts of money.
After you need the best PC on the wall to run it just at once. So you're talking about cost and cost and cost.
Of course, you just kid. And you can, it's like anything. There's no limit to what you can spend doing it. But what we try and do is create a good entry-level product, a really good FEC strong product. We do our designer product for the guy that wants something that looks really sexy in his house. And then we do our bespoke range. If someone, a race team or a guy has enough room in his to have one of these. And we have done one. We did an Austin A35, which is an old classic car, and put it in a guy's manor house for him. And I think we had a 1 mil each side of the doors to get the chassis in. So we managed to squeeze it in. But it looks absolutely fantastic. We put a manual shifter in it so you can run it as a modern car or a historic car. And that was quite a fun project.
Yeah, I tried a couple of Formula One for not the Vasaro one, but someone that do like half Formula One. But sometimes I feel it that, like we said, the motion is too much. And after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you're already sweating, you're tired.
Yeah.
And I prefer go to my horrible seat. That's it. So they're quiet and enjoy it a little bit more.
Well, I mean, hopefully as you're here for the day, I mean, I want you to try the Phoenix.
Yeah, I will
definitely try our single-seater, and I'd love to hear your feedback on it if you've tried other ones.
I'm the most amateur person.
Oh, okay. But that's still important, because it doesn't matter if you're a pro sim racer or a pro driver. It's important that you can get in a simulator with it's a full Aston Martin GT sim, you're sitting here, our single-seater, and enjoy the experience, but also learn. So you can get better. So with one of our engineers, they can
train
help you.
It's train, repeat.
Exactly the same as hitting the golf ball 1,000 times. Train, repeat.
Okay, and just 2 questions to finish. First one, what is the pressure on brake on these ones?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that. Because
it was very stiff.
Yeah, and it isn't designed to be like that, because a race car brake is. Yeah. And the biggest thing that most people that get into a sim the first time, they don't hit the brake hard enough, because I think it's like their road car. Yeah. So in a race car, you do have to use a lot of pressure on the brake, and then how you bleed off that is all part of the skill of the driver, whether it's sim racing or real road. Okay. So I don't know what it is in numbers, but it's designed to feel like a real race car. And it's the same on all our products.
Okay. So, but the pressure that you have here will be the same one on a single-seater or different? Okay, the same.
The same. Well, yeah, very similar. We use a similar system to create that. Probably a bit stiffer on the single-seater. And then across all our home products, that can be changed inside the pedal box, and that can be adjusted.
Okay, that's the one question. And then the last question is anything that you guys are doing now that will put BPS on the market outside of what we already talked.
We've got some very exciting projects that will be announced later this year, which I can't say any more about now. One particular one, we've got 2 big ones coming out, and one particular one will be, huge, absolutely huge. So, keep your ears to the ground, and don't worry, we'll let you know what we're doing.
Perfect. To finish, I will give you 5 words and tell me what comes straight away to your mind. So when you hear these words, first one, sim racing.
BPS.
If I say BPS, what comes to your mind?
Motorsport passion.
Okay. And now Aston Martin, if you are an Aston Martin.
Partner brand.
Okay. Silverstone.
Home of motorsport.
Home
of British motorsport, yeah.
Okay. And I was asking Lewis Hamilton, if you're talking about.
Oh, a legend.
That's perfect. Just one personal question, because now Aston Martin announced the new car. Yeah. What is your views on that?
The GT car? Yeah. Oh, I mean, I've been racing the GT4 for the last 3 years, and that's a great product. I haven't tested the new one. Hopefully next year I'll get my hands on one. Okay. The GT3 is absolutely stunning, beautiful car. If it's as good as the drivers that I talk to who have tested it say it is, and goes as well as it looks, it's going to be a major threat again in GT racing around the globe.
Yeah, because I think people was a little bit, I would say, bad when Stroll take out the company.
Yeah.
But I think what is made it for Aston Martin outside of the F1, you start seeing it.
Yes, I think that's important. And I think F1 has its place. It is the pinnacle of motorsport. But the Aston F1 car looks like nothing other than an F1 car. Exactly. If you go to Le Mans or you go and watch GT racing or you get in your sim and drive a GT car, those are kind of the cars you see on the street. And the passion, the history, and the difference in all those products you can see. And I think that development and that importance of sports car racing is so important to give heritage and brand, or create heritage and brand for the manufacturers. And I think as well as being a massive revenue stream for all the manufacturers, because they're selling a lot of cars, they're selling a lot of parts, they're supporting programs.
The old school mode. You win it, and after you sell it, it was Ferrari mode operators.
Yeah, 100% that's true today. And I think it's amazing. I mean, I'm a sports car fan, have been all my life, to see the cars and the manufacturers coming into World Endurance Championship and IMSA in America is incredible. And you have Ferrari, Cadillac, BMW. I mean, I lose track of all the different brands, Porsche. And I think it's very, very exciting times for the sport.
Another golden era.
Yeah,
it's going to be talking 20 years when you remember the 90s.
Exactly.
On the terms of the hypercars of the 90s, the Group C. So now we are living the same one, but we're just going to realize in a couple of years how good is being.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think it will stay. Yeah. And it does always go in cycles, but there's a lot of manufacturer support, a lot of money gone into it, and the popularity of the sport is increasing. With the education. Okay. And one of the great things, if you go to one of our partner centres that have our Phoenix products in, you don't just have to be in an F1 car driving around a track. You could go and race a WEC car on a Le Mans weekend, or you could race an Indy car at the Indy 500 weekend, or you could drive a touring car on a touring car weekend.
I'm a touring car fan.
Oh, there you go. So you're not limited to just going into an F1 car. So our offering offers a little bit more than just, F1, which is great, and it's the pinnacle of the sport without a doubt. But I think it's exciting that whole of motorsport gets so much exposure now.
Yeah, but back to the topic that I was saying, with when people was against Lance Stroll go to F1 because he's buying his seat. So that people, that you can see that they don't realize that how much money he's been putting on Aston Martin outside of the F1. Yeah. And how many jobs. Well, they have a new center there, and that one now you can see on the GT, because Aston Martin is keep appearing GT3, GT4, and probably they're going to do endurance.
Oh, they're doing the Valkyrie's coming with the hypercar. So we'll see that next year or the year after. So that's going to be another very exciting development.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so
Brilliant.
much.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks.